What is up, guys?
Wait.
Wait, did you not get it?
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're going. What
Oh,
are you
I'm
talking
sorry.
about?
Sorry.
Was that a premature what is up, guys?
Nah, that's
or
fine. That
right on
counts.
time?
No, start again.
Oh, but the first one was so good.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What is up, guys? Is that good?
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
I like the first one.
I feel like I went in a bit hard, but
Yeah.
it's
You
all
thought
right.
you went a bit hard?
Yeah.
I think you could have gone harder.
Okay. Do you want
Very
me
quiet.
Yeah.
You're allowed to yell.
to I'm allowed to yell.
Yeah.
Yeah, yell. Because you weren't yelling.
What is up, guys?
Whoa. That it was just
She's taking over the podcast.
It's just so much pizzazz in that one.
There's a lot of like at the start of it.
Came from my chest. That one.
All right. Well, second special guest, Harriet. Round of applause for Harriet. And then we also have, you can't even see, Grace and Hugo joining us. Hey,
You
this-
might be able to in the GoPro
In
wide
one
lens.
of the mirrors.
I highly doubt
the
it.
GoPro
but,
in the kettle. All right, Harriet. Do you want to say hi?
I did. Did I not?
I'm sure you did. I just never know how to start these. Rhys, you start talking about something.
Yeah, let's just
Why don't you talk about me?
let's get right into it.
Yeah, who's Harriet?
Harriet is a friend of mine.
Yeah. Just friends.
Get back into that. Let's get into that topic.
Okay.
You want me to start already?
yeah, just go for
We're
it.
going to talk
Wow.
about current events real quick.
Yeah.
Canada
Well-
has isolated coronavirus within their little space.
I feel
That's
like that's
pretty
not
current.
a thing.
They've fully
do you-
isolated it.
Yeah,
What do you mean they've isolated it?
like all the contagious people are isolated.
Hmm.
So the virus can't actually get out within Canada unless other people bring it in. But I think they've
Right.
added to they're not letting other people in, like flights and stuff. So hey, I just saw about 3 articles this morning saying that they've
That's a-
isolated it, and I was like, what does that mean?
I
But
saw
did
an-
you hear that Trudeau's wife has it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the
she better
Prime
be
Minister-
isolated then.
I heard
Otherwise, they're lying.
in Italy, because like it's full on lockdown there. They're doing a thing where everyone at like midday or something today is going to their windows and balconies, and everyone's applauding for all the doctors and people who are working.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
yeah, it's pretty
That
nice,
is
pretty
so
wholesome.
nice.
You know, in the US,
Here we go.
I think it was like 5,000 people came together and dressed up as Smurfs. I don't know how that was going to fight Corona.
Just
no, they were
recently?
going to say they were going to Smurf-size or whatever their thing is, the coronavirus.
That's like the worst thing you can do is
Oh
get in
yeah,
a big group of people
I'm pretty sure they've banned meetings of up to
Over
500. Yeah,
in Australia, yeah.
yeah. But I'm sure. Wait, Trump said he beat Corona, so it shouldn't be a problem in the US. So
Take it
It's
away,
actually,
Harriet.
it is kind of related to what my topic is because I'm going way back with humans.
you're going way
Like
back.
back to the start.
How far back?
Like the start.
How far is
Like
that?
millions
Wow.
of years. We're going way back.
That's
and
pretty far
it's-
back.
At least 2020 years.
Yeah, well, that's because
I'm kidding.
that is when humans started.
Jesus
Exactly,
made
yeah.
humans.
Adam and Eve.
And
Ah,
Jesus,
yes.
they were the first.
This is the
three.
other version of that. This is I mean, they're parallel, but
Then don't know how true
you
your
guys,
version is.
the listeners can choose which one they believe, but
Yeah.
we're going down one path.
The real
of
part.
humans. Sure. Who knows what's real?
We might need to move your mic over. Yeah, you good.
Do you want me
there.
to sit here?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, take it away then.
Okay, so for Christmas, I got this book from a friend for KK
Mm-hmm.
called Sapiens, The History of Humankind, and it's by Yuval Noah Harari. And this guy is a genius. Like I feel like he knows everything about anything.
Mm.
And this book has blown my mind. So I'm prefacing it with this.
Have you finished the book yet?
No, so I'm actually only like a few chapters in, but it's really hectic to read because every page you're just like, what? Is that real? Like you have to really concentrate. Like you can't read it before you go to bed
Yeah.
because you
Or
need to
have-
be like fully firing when you're reading it.
What's the
you'll
book
have
called?
What's it called?
Yeah.
Sapiens.
Ah.
A History of Humankind.
Or you'll have an existential crisis.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
imagine.
Exactly. Because you think about it and you're like, oh my gosh, we've been here for so long. And we're just like not even.
We haven't been here for so long,
Dang.
comparatively.
It's scary.
There's a really
stuff.
cool photo that somebody took. I don't know how they took it or whatever, but it's like I'll put it on the Instagram. It's like I'll find it. I'll show you guys. Keep talking, Harriet.
Okay. So we're going back 6 million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 million years ago, we split off from the apes. Okay. So we're all part of the great ape family.
If you believe that.
The great
If
ape
you
debate.
believe it. The great apes. And so back 6 million years ago, there was one female ape who had 2 daughters. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One daughter is like the grandmother of chimpanzees, like that whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And then one daughter is our grandmother, like humans.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, my
Mind
grandma's name is
blown.
Kathy.
We're going back.
No,
okay,
you're
right?
great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So that's where we're going back to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so from that, humans then evolved 2.5 million years ago. So it kept, trickling down over the millions of years. And then we got to like humans 2.5 million years
Homo
ago.
sapiens?
So no, this is where it gets interesting,
Homo
Rhys.
erectus?
Yeah.
They're the only 2 I know.
Okay, so
Nice.
basically, up until I think it was 10,000 years ago, there was roughly about 6 types of Homo somethings. So Homo erectus, Homo Neanderthals, potentially,
I'm making that
and so there was 6 different types of humans.
up.
So we all think that we're really different, like race, ethnicity, all of that. But there was actual different types of humans.
How could you differentiate them?
Well, they just had different like characteristics. So for example, Neanderthals were like really big, really hairy because they lived through the Ice Age. And so they were really strong and like could do a lot more physically than what we could, but they weren't as smart.
Okay.
Doo-doo brain.
I'll tell you, it's like Skyrim classes when you have to pick your class at the start. That's what I'm picturing right now. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
That's why I looked at Rhys when I said that.
Yeah,
Any
not too.
character customization,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
assume.
Yeah. So that was one of the types. There was a type, I think, in Indonesia where they were really small because they were like on this island where everything was kind of small and it was more like efficient for them to be smaller. And there was like tiny elephants. So they would hunt like tiny elephants, but they were also tiny.
Seems like the cutest island.
It's the cutest island ever. Yeah, exactly. But this kind of still exists in like South America with like native South, like Chileans and Peruvians. They're really small.
And pygmies? A pygmy people a thing? Or am I just thinking of that from like a made up story?
It sounds like something that might exist.
We might get
We might
Grace,
get our
our
fact
fact
checker.
checker
Grace
of this
fact checker.
episode.
Yeah.
Also, just to come back real quick, I did find that photo. It's of like a solar system or something like that. And
Oh,
then-
that's, yeah.
and then
That
if you
little
look
dot's
right
us.
there, that dot is
Oh, that's too
Earth.
I can't.
What, isn't that the satellite that they sent out?
Oh yeah, something like that.
Whatever the satellite they sent out.
It was like the last
whatever
photo
years
it was
ago.
able to take or something.
Yeah. Or that's the, yeah, I think that's it. The furthest
Yep.
photo away
I
or
think that's
something
it.
like
So
that.
this
Yeah.
exists.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
What do we got from Grace?
We're looking at pygmy people.
Read it out into the microphone.
So pygmy peoples are ethnic groups whose average height is unusually short. The term pygmyism is used to describe the phenotype of endemic short stature for populations in which adult men are on average less than 150 centimeters tall.
Okay.
Short kings.
So yeah, but when I was in Peru, name drop, I've been to Peru, seen Machu Picchu.
Country drop.
Yeah. There's like women who are like tiny, like probably under 150 centimeters tall, but it's because of the lack of oxygen in the air because they're at such high altitudes. It's actually more efficient for their bodies to be smaller because the blood circulates and the oxygen
Oh, wow.
circulates to a smaller amount of, a body.
Yep.
So it's more efficient, which is amazing. Whereas people like us, we're all very tall. It's harder for the oxygen
All
to
kings
get.
and queens right here.
Reese
All
is
the way
actually the
around.
shortest guy in our group.
Out of Keegan, Dylan, and I. Yes.
Who's taller out of Grace and I? Is it me?
Stand up.
No standing up.
Don't you hate when they did that back in school and stuff like that? It's like every kid was like, okay, go back to back. And
Yeah,
and then
who's taller?
you always used to do the whole stand
No,
up
it was
real
all-
straight.
It was my favorite whenever in class they would go, all right, now just get in order of shortest to tallest. It'd usually be in sport or something.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah, no. You go to the next person, you go to the tallest spot.
Would you always go towards the end?
Yeah, because I'm short. Yeah.
Well, you could have gone either end. You didn't specify which end.
Exactly, but he said short, so.
Interesting.
Mm.
I was definitely one of the taller girls.
Oh, I had my growth
always.
spurt and from year 8 till
That's
I don't
it.
know.
It
I had
stopped in
3 growth spurts from 8 to 11, I think. Year 8 to year 11.
Yeah.
Boys always have their growth spurts later than girls.
Mm.
So like when you're in high school, all the girls feel like they're so tall.
Mm.
Then all of a sudden all the boys have like their growth spurts.
Yeah, there were
It's
lots
weird.
of tall girls. Like when especially when you came to a new school, it's like, whoa, whoa. Oh, there was this one guy who was like, you'd feel like you were breaking your neck looking up to him. And then as the years go by, just stayed that height and you just balance out and just keep going.
Meet him there.
If you're fortunate enough.
Let's say, there's this girl in grade 5 or 6. She was a year younger, but in grade 5, which is when you're 10 or something. And she would easily be 6 something back then. She
Really?
was massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be really hard, I feel like, at that age to be that tall.
She probably played basketball.
She dunked.
Yeah.
Yeah, she dunked on me multiple times.
Epic. All right, should we continue with the human
go for it.
story? Okay, so at some point, in our history, Homo sapiens, which is us, ended up being the main human species that lived on.
Hell yeah, go us.
Woo.
One tick for Homo sapiens.
Exactly. And obviously, a bit before all of that probably happened, we moved from being on all fours. So we moved to upright.
Yep.
Call back to a previous podcast topic that I did.
Oh yeah,
on quadrupedals. And people still do that now. We usually call them horse people.
Oh, I get what you mean.
And they gallop and trot on all fours.
Yeah. Well, basically, they're going back a few million years to what we initially did.
But it's a bit rougher for them now because their spines are
Absolutely.
built for bipedal walking.
Oh, so technical.
Not quadrupedal.
You wouldn't expect it from this podcast, but we get into some pretty good topics.
So the interesting thing with walking upright is that our heads are so heavy that it's quite normal for us to get neck, back pain because our brains have evolved to get bigger and heavier, but our bodies have evolved to walk upright. So it's a bit of a differing.
Big balance game.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Big brain
Fun
time.
fact.
I feel like we haven't let Harriet talk at all this episode. Okay, fun fact.
We
quick.
don't have to have the fun fact.
No, just quick.
I think the best way to measure the weight of your head. Come on, tell me. Someone tell me how you measure the weight of your head.
Weight.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you do it? Well, you put it on a scale,
You cut it off.
cut it off. That's probably the easiest way.
What's your way?
You put your head, you dunk it in a bucket of water, and because you know the density of water, you calculate the displacement of water with your head.
What
Is
happened
that
to you
mass?
this episode?
Is that mass or weight though?
Well, mass, because weight is only relative to Earth due to Earth's gravity, because weight is relative to the gravity space in which you belong in. So your mass is different in space. That's why you're able to bounce and hop.
This boy on big
Double
brain
fun
time.
fact.
This-
Yeah, this Homo sapien brain. All right, let's get back to
Let me
yours.
guess. You got the biggest, heaviest head? All right.
I was always at the end of the line in class.
There we go. Everybody dunk your head.
Biggest brain at the front. That's me.
Big brain time.
Okay, so if we look at childbirth,
Mm-hmm.
when we were walking around on all fours, it was a lot easier. Our bodies were made to have an easier childbirth. But now that we've tilted upright, the pelvic bones haven't had enough time to kind of adjust to childbirth. So it's actually really traumatic for the body to have a child the way that we are now. And essentially how natural selection has gone the past however long is that women who have had children earlier in the pregnancy, as in like not around 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
You would be more likely to survive that because the head of the child is still malleable and small enough to get through. So where we're at now, having children at 9 months, potentially years and years ago, we would have been having children at 12 months into like the pregnancy or whatever. But because women were dying because of how traumatic that was on the body, natural selection has then made it that we have children earlier. And for a lot of other animals, they would have children like children that are way more developed than what a human is. Like a human is so reliant on their mother for so long once they are born, but like other animals come out and they're freaking like walking. Like a horse just comes out and it kind of shakes itself off and then it's like walking around stumbling.
Like baby birds get like 2 or 3 days before they like, all right, later.
Yeah.
Or like
Catch.
get the hell, see if you can fly.
Exactly. So it's really interesting that essentially we're underdeveloped when we're born, and a lot of our organs and stuff really need to like have a lot more time before they're fully functioning and whatnot. So we're essentially all premature nowadays, which is really interesting.
Damn.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting from this book was that for a long time and up until about 100,000 years ago, humans were in the middle of the food chain. So things like, you know, lions, dinosaurs, whatever else are at like the top of the food chain because they're bigger and more like we wouldn't win in a fight essentially with a lion.
You know,
you are a bit of a Neanderthal.
Haven't had
I'll tell
a
you that
chance
much.
yet. So.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. But what humans used to do is they would actually be the last person, like the last animal to get to a carcass.
It'd be
because
scavengers.
Everyone else, like the hunter-gatherer is what they were called.
Opportunists as well.
Yeah, so they would get to the carcass last, and by that point, there's no meat there.
I'm just going.
Damn, we missed out.
You kidding? The lions already?
So rude. They didn't share. So essentially, they would get there, and they would have the tools to then like open up the bones, and they would eat the bone marrow. So that was what like the humans would eat from a carcass. They would eat the bone marrow, and they would have the tools to like scavenge and get that out. But then what happened was they were able to develop things like spears and like bigger instruments that they were able to use to start hunting bigger game. And over time, they like quite quickly worked their way up to the top of the food chain. And this also involved the fact that they were able to domesticate fire. So when humans were able to make their own fire, they were able to essentially control an element, which no other animal can do. So they could like burn an area of forest and then scavenge and like eat the charred animals and do all of that just from lighting a fire. But what they were also able to do was they were able to start cooking. So when they were able to start cooking things, they were able to spend a lot more time doing other things rather than eating, because I think it's like koalas sit and chew on eucalyptus leaves for like 5 or 6 hours of the day. And it used to kind of be the same because you'd need enough time to digest raw food. But when humans were able to start cooking things, it took a lot less time for them to digest, and they were able to like do more things, but they were also able to physically develop into stronger people. Their brains got bigger and their intestines got smaller. So the body had to spend less time digesting things and was able to like refocus that energy into like bigger brains and more brain power. So it's so fascinating to me.
That is.
Like, yeah, so essentially our intestines got smaller, brains got bigger, and we kept going up and up the food chain because of these things. So what he says, Harari says, is that we got there so quickly to the top of the food chain that the rest of the ecosystem wasn't actually able to adjust in time. So normally animals would get faster, or they'd create sort of ways of balancing out the ecosystem so that things like lions and sharks and whatnot wouldn't, ruin the whole, like everything has its place. But because humans got there so quickly, the ecosystem wasn't able to adjust. And we've kind of got to the place we are now where we obviously dominate everything, and animals really have no chance. And that was quite a quick changeover.
And it's, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for
and
it.
it's definitely just due to us being able to create tools and be able to utilize them. Have we lost the camera?
No, we're good.
Oh, just checking. But like we haven't actually evolved like in the sense of forming, like of attacking and killing animals. It's just like physically, sorry. Like we haven't gained claws or
No.
like if we didn't have these tools that we created, we wouldn't stand a chance against a shark or a lion or whatever. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that all these advances we'd made outside of our own bodies has given us such a statistical advantage against every animal, essentially.
I wonder if there's been a point where, okay, so we're figuring out that we could cook, so then we could save that, and have big brain time, right?
Yeah.
So then I was wondering if there's something that has, at one point in time, do we ever reach our peak, and then we've kind of gone back a little bit, how then they were like, oh, food's cheaper. I don't know, something like that. And then big brain time goes down a little bit.
Well, that's a good point, because what he says in this book is that essentially the best time for humans was probably when we were in this hunter-gatherer style of living, because we had a really varied diet, because it would be dependent on what was around. We would be traveling like the whole time. Like you maybe would set up camp for a few days, a few weeks, but then you'd move on because you would have got through everything in that area. And so you would always be moving. You'd be really physically active. You'd be eating a varied diet. And the part of the book that I'm getting into now is that he goes into like the agricultural revolution, where we started to settle in one spot. And what we did was we started creating farms where we would farm like rice, wheat, potatoes, and that's what we would eat, because that's what we were farming. So then all of a sudden you've gone from a huge varied diet to a really specific, like unbalanced diet. And a lot less, like you're still laboring and whatnot, but your lifestyle wasn't probably as good as the hunter-gatherers at this point in time. So yeah, it's super interesting. And there's a few other little things that I'll mention before I finish up. So binging food, really interesting. He says that it's because when we were a hunter-gatherer, if we saw a tree with like heaps of ripe figs on it, for example, you would binge that because you didn't know when you were next going to come across a tree full of ripe figs or anything for that matter. So you would eat and binge on these foods. And it's the same with greasy foods. Like I don't know what an example of a greasy food would be out in the wild, but people would eat those kind of foods.
Something with a lot of fat content.
Like
high fat content.
Big Mac or something.
Yeah, like a avocado maybe, I don't know.
That's a better example than that.
A wild Big Mac. So yeah, like you binge, and that's like written into our DNA to do that. And that's why you do binge on really sweet food and really greasy food. It's like in our hunter-gatherer back in the day.
Big Mac tree is just making me think of a chicky nugget tree.
That'd be so good.
Dan, could you imagine having one in your backyard?
Or just like it's within the tree, so you just have to like absolutely go at it and like pull the bark back, and just all these chicky nuggets
and then
fall
like
out.
All the puddles, instead of just being like mud and stuff, they're like barbecue sauce.
Oh, okay. Or the sap.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
What else?
Well, then the bark itself would be like jerky.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I could
It
get
doesn't
around
really
that.
go with a
Just
Big
keep
Mac.
going with me here.
Okay.
Just keep following.
Yep, jerky. Nice.
And then the leaves. Whoa.
fries.
These will all be different trees, obviously, not the same.
Could be the same tree.
Just one
Hey,
Macca's tree
who knows?
variety.
If it was a Macca's tree, oof. What else could be there? Could you imagine like, okay, so then we got the Big Mac sauces on the puddles or whatever.
Mhm.
The sap can be Sprite from Macca's.
Ooh.
No one gets Sprite. People
Okay,
get Coke.
parents off the podcast. I feel very strongly about Macca's Sprite.
No,
Macca's
they
Sprite,
always
you could
they
kill
always
someone with
when you're
Macca's
at
Sprite.
a drive-through, they say Coke. Like they're like, and is it Coke as a drink?
Okay, but that's where the elite. Okay, so maybe we'll just go back to the Homo sapiens and sapiens. There's a special race that know to say Sprite with no ice from McDonald's, and they're the like big brain time. They're
Well,
the
you
ones
get
that-
no ice with your
No
Sprite.
ice.
because you get more Sprite.
But then it goes warm.
You know, if you drink it in 30
But
seconds.
then you'd be really burpy.
No
What?
one wants that.
You burp all the
yeah,
time.
and then people split on for people that have Sprite with ice and no ice. And the no ice die off in very soon because all the
Honestly,
people that
wait.
get iced go, "What
You
the
guys-
hell are they doing?" and kill them off.
You guys don't feel. I can't believe don't feel the same about the Sprite from Macca's.
Oh no, I do. I
Yeah,
love
okay.
the Sprite from Macca's,
You
but I
like the
also love
Coke.
Coke.
You love
The
Coke.
last 3 times
It's
I've got
just,
McDonald's, I've had Sprite
Wow.
with ice though.
Okay,
I like the orange juice from Macca's.
and then you're the one saying. Okay,
I
you
don't get
can't-
it with my
Wah,
meals though. It's just
wah.
nice.
How do
It's
you
just
get
nice.
a Big Mac with an orange juice?
So it balances out. It's balanced
Can I get the
out.
pop top, please?
Then there's people who get bottled water.
I can't believe
like
that should
idiots.
that should be a screening process to come on the podcast because you just outright said you don't like Sprite from Macca's.
No, I like Sprite. It's just
from
not.
Macca's.
I don't think I've had it.
It's different because it's so carbonated.
Really?
It's so much more carbonated than any other Sprite I've
Yeah.
ever had anywhere.
Okay. Well, we can. Go
In
and
fact,
get
we'll
some.
do a trip this afternoon. We'll go through Macca's. We'll get one.
Show me. All right. Deal. Well, that's my topic.
That was a
Thank
very
you,
good
Harriet. That was
topic.
great. And
Thanks.
I think we're good on time as well.
Well, I could have done the whole book, but I decided just a few chapters would be suffice.
Do you want to show the cover to the
Yeah, sure.
into the
just-
mirror? Oh, you were shooting into mirrors today. Sapiens.
These are all my study notes. There are photos in this book as well. I don't know if you want to look at some Neanderthals.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's a Neanderthal.
That looks a bit like you. Probably your ancestor, that one.
Wow. You were both pretty hairy, so
Okay, I think we can agree that there's one hairier person. We've all
one
seen someone.
particular.
I got a hairy ass, by the way.
Rhys has
Me or
Shout out
you?
on the
a very
podcast.
hairy.
I have a hairy ass.
Can
Was that
confirm.
clear enough?
Yeah.
My name is Dylan Snowden.
Thanks.
All
Rhys.
right, thank you for that topic.
Thanks, Rhys.
Thank you, Harriet. I was going to say thanks, Rhys. Take it away for
Oh,
his.
okay.
topic.
Yeah.
But thank you, Harriet, for coming on.
No
For
worries.
telling us that you don't like Sprite from Macca's.
I'm glad that that's what you took away from my.
It's a source
topic.
It's a sore spot for me. Nah, but that was a really good topic. It's probably
Yeah.
our most informative.
I've had some pretty informative ones.
I
but,
think it
you
was
know.
most informative.
Wow.
I would love
win.
to. I would love for you to come back on and continue on with that
Oh, yeah.
for future podcasts.
Mm. I'll,
That could
I'll
be
try.
a series.
This
We
is-
could do 4 parts of that book.
Mm.
I'd be more than happy to do that. It'll force me to read it as well.
Yeah, and then
'Cause
I
I-
can read it.
Yeah. Well, now I've written
But
all
you don't
over
have
it.
to read it because she could just tell us.
True, but then I can't say I've read it, and I would like to say I've read it. Isn't that the only reason you read a book, to say that you've read it, not to gain any knowledge or anything?
Yeah, true. Just a completionist, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I read it. Bible, done. Yep.
The Bible is like the companion to that book.
True. I think you're right.
All right. Well, my topic is on something that I've explained to both of you already.
I haven't heard this yet.
So
no
Grace might have
idea
to.
what you're talking about.
And oh no, she's coming back.
Yeah, I would actually leave if I was you.
There's no camera on Grace. so
Yeah,
you can't
that's
tell
that's
who-
an insight to my topic now. So if you're not interested in anything, just don't listen to this. Just stop listening to the podcast.
All right.
All right, my topic is on Schrödinger's cat. So do you two know
Whoa.
what Schrödinger's cat
Wow,
is?
no idea.
Never heard you talk about that. There's a cat over in the corner.
Yeah, we can use that cat as an example.
Grace, can you get Hugo out here for us?
Don't put it near me.
Bring him over here.
He looks pretty relaxed.
All right,
He's
we'll
in the
just
sun.
We'll get him
I'll-
back later. Yeah.
I'll use Hugo as the theoretical cat. So Schrödinger's cat is a thought experiment by Erwin Schrödinger, believe it or not. And Dylan's blocking my camera. All right, Dylan's
Uh-oh,
not blocking
fight
my
time.
camera anymore. So this is a thought experiment. I'll repeat myself, by Erwin Schrödinger.
I think we just need to cancel this topic. I'm
Why?
just joking.
Tell us
He
about
was
it.
an Austrian physicist, one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics.
This boy got big brain time.
Yeah, this guy, we're talking about big brains. This guy had a big brain.
This guy put his head in a bucket and all the water left the bucket.
It was a big bucket. So his thought experiment was if you put a cat in a box and there was a device within that box that had a 50% chance of either killing the cat or not killing the cat with cyanide or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So after an hour, if you check the box, will the cat still be alive or will it be dead? And how do you know that until you check the box? I watched a couple videos, a bit interested in this, so this is what I took from it.
Okay.
So that's the experiment.
It's pretty okay.
Understandable. You can't see in the box. You don't know. There's no way you know that the cat is alive or
Isn't
dead.
it just like an extreme version of like a coin toss though?
Or like the tree that falls in the forest.
Yeah.
If no one sees the
I
tree
think
fall.
more the
that's it.
tree than the coin toss, because the coin toss there are variables in terms of flipping and like,
But it's
And-
like it's basically saying that 50-50 thing, no?
yeah, kinda, yeah.
Oh, but because
It's more if you can
But
see it or
Hugo's
not.
in the box. Hugo's in the box.
No,
That's-
Hugo is not in this box. Hugo is in the cushion box that has no 50-50 killing mechanics.
We're not killing Hugo.
So, according to quantum mechanics, we're getting technical here.
Big brain.
Within the equation, the state that the cat is in before you open the box is simultaneously both alive and dead at the same time
When you open the box.
before you open the box.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, has anyone seen a alive and dead cat before?
No, because it doesn't exist because it's alive or dead.
Well, that's what you think. So, according to quantum
I hate
quantum
this story.
mechanics, I'm putting the phone down. I'm going all
Phone's
the
up.
big brain. According to quantum mechanics,
Oh, he's whispering.
I'm going back to my notes. Everything exists as like in a point. Oh, okay. Now I actually have to go back.
No, you've got it.
Yeah. So the reason
Yeah.
something can exist in two states is due to something called superposition, and that's we're getting real technical here. So that has to do with like the wave particles and the wave functions of things and the particles. So everything is made up of particles and whatever.
Okay.
And the way that everything becomes a wave function relative to our space is if there's time. Or so every wavelength, just imagine a wavelength,
Picturing it.
especially if you're listening right now, just imagine a wavelength. And at every point on that wavelength is a single particle in time, I believe.
Okay.
So that's how a wavelength is created. So,
Harriet's asleep.
yeah, Harriet's asleep. She's already listened to this.
This is where you lost me last time, to be
Oh,
fair.
well, essentially every object has a wavelength.
Yeah.
Because everything...
Like a timeline?
Yeah, it's kind of like a timeline, but it's like... Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. So it's so small.
Sort of wavelength.
relative to like us or whatever, a wavelength is so small that actually we'll use Hugo as an example. The wavelength of Hugo, if you took a single atom from that cat and blew that atom up to our solar system.
I don't think Grace would like you doing that.
Yeah, but if you not blew it up, if you made Hugo as big as our solar system, that'd be pretty cute. What do you think?
It'd be a big chunga.
I mean, relatively, not really. But if you blew Hugo up to the size of the solar system, a single atom within that solar system is how big a wavelength is for a cat. So it's very hard to like specifically like scale. You know how there are things that are so small. We think we know the smallest things. I think it's called a quark. That's another fun
Sounds
fact.
like an animal, but
A quark is the smallest thing. It's like smaller than an atom.
Okay.
And a proton and an electron, I believe. So, none of you did physics,
What was
I
the topic
assume.
again?
Yeah, exactly. None of you did physics, I assume.
no.
Okay. Don't need to assume.
I'm assuming. All right, we're skipping that part then.
Shout out theatre kids.
Yeah, exactly. So, before you open the box and the cat is both alive and dead at the same time, we're going back to this.
Mm.
Getting heated here.
Is it?
In my own brain, it is. You simultaneously see when you open the box. The cat both alive and both dead at the same time. But for us, say we opened the box and the cat was alive.
Yeah.
We see it as alive, but the universe splits at that moment, and the other three of us see the cat dead. Does that blow your brain at all?
No.
So
Nah.
this just doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me at all.
It's pretty. So are you talking about like different? There's like parallel timelines.
Mm-hmm. According to this.
Okay, so if we put
Thought
Hugo
theory.
in a box, right?
Yeah.
With a loaded gun.
Yeah.
Right.
And you put your hand in and just shot it.
Don't say that.
Well, how else?
He's right over there.
Okay. You didn't specify.
but
Is
then-
there a contraption that sets the gun off?
There's the contraption. Yeah, the
Yeah.
50-50 thing.
Yeah.
Or Hugo might accidentally set it off himself.
Well, that's another variable you have to
Yeah,
add in.
but then so then all four of us are looking into this box,
Mhm.
and I open it. Hugo's absolutely fine because he's a G and he's fine.
Yeah.
How come you guys see him as dead?
A different
Wait.
parallel universe.
Are you talking about
Of
you
us.
four? Oh, different. Okay.
Yeah, we would
Different
no.
versions of us.
No,
Yeah, so it's-
no.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's
okay.
the same
Oh, no, Rhys is saying
timeline,
no.
Yeah, that's what
but
I
it
mean.
all like splits off. Like, so if you saw him alive, all of us in that timeline would see Hugo alive.
Yeah. So it is different.
So it's
okay.
parallel universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that not?
Sorry, I just got a bit confused.
That's all right.
Yep.
So like because there are so many of these things happening at once, according to this,
Okay.
it is pretty probable that there are so many parallel universes.
Well, there could be infinite.
Well, it's essentially almost infinite.
Yeah.
Anything that's possible. It's not like it's not that anything that's possible can happen or will happen. I don't believe that that's the case. It's very much like if it's probable, it probably happening and or happened.
That means there's a parallel universe of us having a podcast that isn't worldwide famous.
Probable.
I think that's completely unprobable.
Thank you, Harriet.
I think
Thanks for coming
there
on
is
the podcast,
no-
Harriet.
there is
Come on,
no
any week you want.
universe.
But yeah, I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on parallel universes? And does that blow your mind?
Well, it's kind of just like that whole thing that's like, yeah, it is kind of like the tree in the forest. If I don't know it,
Mm.
then it doesn't really faze me.
Mm.
It's like, oh, there might be aliens, there might not be. I'm really unfazed by it.
Mm.
Well, a good way to think about it is like similarly to like the tree of like Homo sapiens and all this.
Yeah.
Shout out Hugo. Not a Homo sapien, just a cat. Just imagine like our timeline from when you were born, it kind of branches off and every little instance just keeps branching off. And that's your experience of it. And you, regardless of how many branches there are in that tree, regardless of which way you go, everything else, it's not you wouldn't see it at all because your experience is just this one tree, the one branch from the tree.
Yep.
Mm.
It's like that. It's like the butterfly effect. No.
No, but
Okay.
but yeah,
But isn't
like,
it like each action could
each
be
each
multiple?
action determines something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every single action.
I don't believe it at all.
I'm not saying it's just a thought.
It's just a theory.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah, but like, what's the point in theorizing that? Like, what does that help us with at
Yeah, but
all?
think
There's
of
like
everything-
that doesn't help anything.
It's just like every theory.
Well, it's
though.
like it's understanding. That's the point. Of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but it's like, why couldn't he have just like done an
Well, he
experiment
did.
on something helpful?
You know, he had some spare time.
It was one of his
He had a box and a
experiments.
cat.
It actually, I don't think it haunted him, but it perplexed him enough that he stopped. As a founding father of quantum mechanics, he decided, "No, this is too much." I think, and he just started to go into biology.
Damn.
Interesting. I would probably
Imagine he
stop
just-
after doing that too.
Yeah, imagine you're just like, yeah, okay,
All right,
So-
no need to diss Erwin. But sorry,
You dissing
continue,
Erwin?
Dylan.
I didn't diss Erwin. I just think he
shout
should
out Erwin. Come on the podcast whenever you like. Call in.
There's
From
an
the grave,
alternate
please.
Hey,
reality where he calls in.
exactly.
Wow.
I don't know if it's probable though, because He's dead.
Yeah,
Okay,
but there's an
also
alternate
a universe
reality.
where he doesn't ever die.
Exactly.
No, that's I did
Okay.
see
We're
that.
just taking this
Good
too
job,
far,
Harriet.
apparently. I think we're on the same wavelength and you're on a different one about this
Well,
theory.
we're
fact,
all
we
in the
just
same
pulled a
one right now,
molecule
so
from your
you don't get a
wavelength.
choice.
Yeah, good topic, Rhys.
I wasn't done. No.
No.
Grace, do you mind getting Hugo and putting him on camera just so we can... Because we had a lot of fans say they were upset because we kind of said he might have made an appearance 2 weeks ago, but he didn't. Put him on it with
No,
Harriet.
not near me.
Okay.
Wasn't
Okay, put him over here in this little thing.
Wait, was Hugo or Max on the photo for the podcast?
Hugo.
Was it
You got to get him in the little... All right, well, we're at... Hey, Hugo. Any comments?
Don't put me in a box.
So we're at, we're at 40 minutes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Oh.
Anything else you want to talk about? Well, you're going to say you had some... Okay, he's been on. Bye, Hugo. You're getting too mic greedy. You had some hypotheticals for us.
No, I didn't. I was just wondering what you guys thought about parallel universes. Apparently, not much. So.
Yeah, like I'm kind of unfazed by it.
Yeah.
There's a really good video game called Life is Strange where it's kind of like the more of the butterfly effect thing where you have to make decisions and then it changes your timeline.
I have heard something about that, but I believe that game isn't very dependent on your choices.
Oh, some of them are. Like
Maybe I'm thinking of a
end-
different one. Because there was one that it's like the illusion of choice. It's like a magician. It's like
there's like the Fallout games where you can say 4 different things to
maybe
somebody,
it's
but
that,
they all
yeah,
end
and
up
it
the
doesn't-
same.
Yeah.
Life is Strange was really good though.
Mm-hmm.
And the Falls Spanish Sahara is in like the soundtrack for it. It's cool. Except it's really funny because it was made by like, I think it was like a Swedish team or something, but they write American teenagers. And so the American dialogue is just like
stereotyped.
so off and like
Yeah.
it's always like, what is up, dude? Like shit like that. It's kind of
That's how
funny.
they talk, isn't it?
Yeah. Shout out Americans. Come on the podcast, Americans.
I just want to say that I believe it is now free to go get checked if you have coronavirus in the US. It has just been announced. So,
But they don't have enough kits, I thought.
well, maybe that's the case, but just go get checked. Don't let your financial situation... It was. And then I think just the
Was
other
it?
day...
Grace said
forgot-
it was $1,500 to get checked.
Yeah, it was 13...
And that's US.
1310 or something like
What
that.
I've been hearing is
to
that
get-
they're quite hard to come by.
Yes. But one of the, I think a senator or something, like was essentially not bullying, but bullied the overseer of whoever gives the kits out. And she was like, are you under rightful law or whatever, you have the power over the government or whatever to give these kits for free, like to help. All right, Dylan isn't interested, obviously.
No,
To give these kits for free because you have the authority under law to do that, regardless of
Right.
making money or whatever.
Mm.
He was like, he was essentially she asked him essentially 3 times or 4 times, and he was like, look, we're trying to figure out the best way to do this kind of thing, whatever, like avoiding the question. And she asked him, she like hounded him. He's like, you know what? You're just too good at this. Yes is the answer.
Yes.
So
For
what you
women.
want.
yeah, and she was just like, anyone listen to this? Do not let your financial situation prevent you from getting tested.
Yeah.
Because like, I'd be in that same situation. I'd just imagine like
Oh yeah.
$1.5 grand just to get tested for this virus.
And what if you just had the common cold? You just wasted.
Yeah, exactly. It
grand.
puts people out. She added it up. It was like you get your coronavirus, you get the flu A, flu B, another test, and then the biggest one. I forgot what it was for, but that was essentially $1,000.
Yeah. Well, I just had a little bit of uplifting news. I wasn't.
We don't like
uninterested.
uplifting news.
It was just it's not coronavirus, but it's like it doesn't matter. Virginia passes a bill to set insulin prices at $50 max per month, which is one of like the 3
pretty good.
U.S. states that's like adopting that because insulin prices get pretty insane if you don't have healthcare in the states.
Did you say insulin or internet?
Insulin.
Oh, okay. It's like internet. That's pretty good.
Capped internet prices. So I thought that was pretty good, pretty uplifting news because
That is good.
I don't know those Corona stuff. It's pretty easy
You
to
kind
get.
of forget about it. The other stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of
Insulin's the biggest like fuck up. Oh, it's the biggest like monopoly.
Yeah.
By the people that own all these, because prices have just kept going up and up. So
it's gone up by like 1,000%.
it's it's disgusting how much it's gone up.
Anyway, uplifting news. There we go.
Do we
Should
have
try to
them?
finish each week on an uplifting story.
We don't have to.
Okay, yeah, keep it pretty down. Keegan wasn't here.
One of my friend's cats died.
Oh, I'll find another.
I
Uplifting.
put it in a box, and then
Oh,
oh my, whatever.
Hugo's right there.
I can hear
It
you.
wasn't Hugo.
Obviously.
Insulin prices.
Oh.
Whoa. All right.
Chill with the insulin.
All right. Harriet, do you want any? Would you
Yeah,
like
the
to let
insulin joke.
anybody know of anything on your way out? You could.
Like plug my podcast?
Yeah,
Do you have one?
Not yet, but Grace and I were thinking about it.
Oh, a competitive podcast. Hold on a second.
Shit.
No, but actually, Grace and I are going to come back on. We've got a topic that we want to discuss.
Ow!
I think we plugged it last time, actually.
Yeah, you did. Love Island.
Love Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a full episode just on Love Island. Maybe we'll do a bit of research before it, so then we can just have a bit of knowledge on it too.
So we
no,
can comment.
No, the
Oh.
whole point is that you don't
Actually-
know.
Okay.
It's actually our podcast.
No, I think Grace and I are taking over. This is
Okay.
actually our new podcast.
Oh,
It's
this
your one.
camera turned off.
Me?
Yeah, we need a cipher. Just start spitting something.
Yeah, actually, can you? I've been. Say like a poem or something to take us away.
A poem?
Yes.
That's what you tried to get me to do.
Just a quick
I
poem,
can't
like
think
an
on my
insulin
feet
poem.
like that. An insulin poem.
All right, goodbye, guys.
Insulin. Don't put it in a binsulin.
All right. Okay. Good. Wave to a
Well,
camera,
that's
I guess.
recorded forever.
Wave to your mirror. That's a bad way to end it.
Peace out. What is up, guys?